PsyOps, psychological warfare. Is that what the government's doing to the nation today? I will lay out some points. I will let you make up your own mind. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just here to lay the facts out and you decide what you want. We're going to start with the definition of psychological warfare. This is according to the RAND Corporation. Involves the planned use of propaganda and other psychological operations to influence the opinions, emotions, attitudes, and behavior of opposition groups. Now, I pull out in this U.S. Army psychological operations recruitment video. There is a little section in there. Have you ever wondered who's pulling the strings? Anything we touch is a weapon. We can deceive, persuade, change, influence, inspire. We come in many forms. We are everywhere. That is from an Army psychological operations recruitment video. For years now, the government has been bombarding the citizenry with propaganda campaigns and psychological operations aimed at keeping us compliant, easily controlled, and supportive of the police state's various efforts abroad and domestically. In the last 2 years, we have really seen that. Even now, I don't want to say you can make up your own mind. I see them pushing it really hard within the last 6 months or so. Psychological warfare may not be the most devastating in terms of long-term consequences. Psychological warfare is all about influencing governments, people of power, and everyday citizens. PsyOps soldiers' key mission is to influence emotions, notices, reasoning, and behavior of foreign governments and citizens, deliberate, deceive enemy forces, advise governments, and provide communications for disaster relief and rescue efforts. Don't be fooled into thinking PsyOps campaigns are only aimed at foreign enemies. The government has made it clear in a word, indeed, that we the people are domestic enemies that can be targeted, tracked, manipulated, micromanaged, surveilled, viewed as suspects, and treated as if our fundamental rights are mere privileges that can be easily discarded. That right there is a very true statement as what we've been seeing in the news. I remember the one story, Vietnam vet. The way they used psychological warfare over the Viet Cong was real, let's say, religious about the dead, you know. They would play this, what we would probably call like horror ghost sounds. They would fly helicopters over the woods and play these sounds, knowing that it would, intimidate the Viet Cong because they were so religious, or they believed in the dead able to come back in a ghost form, I want to say. They would play these constantly at nighttime. Now, if you were in the woods and you heard these sounds, and it's in what you believe in, and these sounds go together, it would really mess with your mind. I mean, that's what we are seeing right now happening in the United States. Weaponizing violence. We've seen that happen a lot. With alarming regularity, the nation continues to be subjected of spats of violence that terrorizes the public, destabilizes the country's ecosystem, and gives the government greater justifications to crack down, lock down, and institute every authoritarian policies for the so-called sake of national security without many objections from the citizens. I want to go into, we've all heard the news. The Patriot Front. This group was arrested. They were in the back of a U-Haul. I think there's 31 of them. They were in the back of a U-Haul. And these cops were able, as a citizen, phoned in that they seen suspicious guys getting in the back of a U-Haul. And within 10 minutes, these cops were able to make a stop and get these guys out of the back of the U-Haul, saying these guys were going to some kind of pride festival that was in the park. Let me refresh this page because I don't know what happened to the video. Okay. Now, this video is from a camera, okay, a body camera that was on one of the Patriot Front's, person. The guy was wearing it.
Never say never with you. I end up together with you. It's hell and it's heaven with you.
I'm gonna mute that. I'm gonna get copyright strike. Oh, where'd it go?
Odyssey.com. It's a video sharing site alternative to YouTube. The video captures the hate group's conversations while inside the U-Haul truck.
The van.
We don't know the full context of what they're saying, but you do hear some comments about what the group is expecting when they reach their destination.
Also keep in mind, being in the center of a park, an event like this, with weak-willed opposition that'll be heckling at most.
I'm sorry.
There's not going to be any opportunity for getting testy with physical responses, so mind your P's and Q's.
Then, the video jumps to the moment when law enforcement opened the back of the U-Haul.
Hey-yo.
On the ground one by one.
It appears the camera is strapped to one of the men who was inside the U-Haul. Once they are detained, you can hear someone telling the group what they should tell police.
The only thing, the name, date of birth, that you're an activist, you peaceably assemble. It's the only thing you tell them.
The video claims police did not do a thorough search of the group, which is why one of the activists still had a camera. Then it appears to show some of the men on their way to jail.
Hello and welcome to the entrance to what I can presume is county jail.
The remainder of the video shows the group getting out of jail. At one point, the man who looks like the leader of the group, identified as Thomas Rousseau, makes comments about there being no evidence against them.
Did you know Northern Quest gave away over $12 million in jackpots last month? That's around 16,000.
Now, you tell me. Okay, 31 guys in the back of a U-Haul. If you watch the video, the multiple videos of their outside views, there happens to be all this media there. And they open the back of this truck with 31 guys in it. And I seen one cop that had his gun drawn. One. How many cops were there? A lot. And then they get them out of the truck. They don't search these people very well and don't realize this guy is wearing a body camera, okay? body camera obviously looked like it was on his chest area. It's something you can't miss. Okay? Why did they not take it? I think they did not take it because they wanted the video of this to get out. If you also look at their Patriot Front page they have 261 followers. Now you tell me a group being labeled as, the media's label them as white supremacist Patriot group, okay, Patriot Front. Now, to me, white supremacist and patriot does not go together. There also was, now there is, on YouTube, leaked Patriot Front meetings. The audio has been leaked. Now, either you have an FBI person in your group, or you have an informant in your group, or is this group made, basically, I don't want to say made up, but is working with the government to push an agenda of white supremacist? I'll play a little bit of this video. It's just, see, in this whole thing, neo-Nazi, you see it.
I was on the Oregon coast and I put some stickers up in a one town.
So when it comes to large-scale mural cover-ups, make sure that you are always consulting a director for something like that, or you are consulting me. It is something, generally as the activism becomes higher in risk or scale, the more you need to get consultation.
Keeps saying connection refused.
Are you outside of your internet area? Are you on your data?
Okay, I'm not gonna play the whole thing. If you guys want to watch this, well, listen to this. It's Unicorn Riot on YouTube. There is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's probably almost 10 audio that has been leaked. Okay. Another thing about this group is there were so many people from out of state, as far as Texas, okay, that all got together and planned to go, they say, well, the media says riot, because they had shields and one smoke bomb at this Pride festival, okay? Now, a Pride festival in neo-Nazis groups, I really don't see the connection there. I could see a BLM march or Juneteenth, I could see them going to a function like that. I don't see why this group would be going to a Pride. That it just, if they're supposedly neo-Nazis, what do they, neo-Nazis really don't have nothing against, your gender orientation or not. They are a racist, based group. Now, if you guys listen to these January 6th hearings, especially the primetime one, I want you to think of how many times did they repeat the words white supremacist. I think it was probably almost at least every 5 minutes or something. The reason they repeat that word, okay, they repeat words they want to get into your mind with. It's like a kid, a toddler, okay? Toddler gets, usually their first words are usually mama, dada, or some version of that. But you know what word they also learn to say very well is no. Because they are always being told no. Okay? No, don't touch that. No, you can't do that. No, you can't eat that. Why they learn that word so easily is because the word is constantly repeated to them every day. Now you tell me, why was there a need in these hearings to repeat that phrase as many times as they have, if it wasn't to get you to, believe in that phrase? That's why they repeat stuff. I don't get the meaning, and the January 6th. I don't get what they're going to accomplish with this committee besides push more of what they want to push, which you can see that. You can see by that testimony, of the 2 police officers that were there, and all these big mean people pushing the gates, and they cut up the video to make things look bad. They didn't show the video in the full context. It's all to push an agenda. They're using psyops to get to you, to get what they want. Most of you don't believe it because it seems to be like second nature. It just... But until you sit and think about it, how many times did they say that phrase? Why did they repeat that phrase so much? Why is that phrase so much in the news? Are them people out there? Yes. I mean, there probably is groups out there that are neo-Nazis, white supremacists. Are they every group that the media, paints out to be? Are they all neo-Nazis? No. They're pushing that as an agenda. They are pushing the racist thing. Now, you tell me you can be white and be racist, but can you be black and racist? I mean, I think it's possible. Media and everybody in government and everything says, no, it's not possible. You can only be racist if you're white. Tell me how, no matter what your race is, if you don't like another race, or I don't want to say don't like, but of willing to commit violence against another race, no matter what your race is, or treat them different because of their race. I mean, the word racist has been taken out of context so much. I mean, it's pretty much a nothing word right now. They use it all the time. They use it out of context. It doesn't even hold, the water that it used to hold way back in the years, because they've overused it. You do this, you're racist. You do this, you're racist. You can't do that. You're going to be racist. They've just overused it. They're using it as a tool to further divide this nation into one side against another side. That is, psyops, psychological warfare, is what it's what they do to your mind every day. As I get farther down in this article, there will be some good points that stick out, of what's happening right now. Weaponizing surveillance, pre-crime, and pre-thought campaigns. Surveillance, digital stalking, and data mining of the American people add up to a society in which there's little room for indiscretions, imperfections, or acts of independence. When the government sees all and knows all and has an abundance of laws to render even the most seemingly upstanding citizen a criminal lawbreaker, then the old adage that you've got nothing to worry about if you've got nothing to hide no longer applies. Pre-crime programs into the mix with government agencies and corporations work in tandem. They have a spiderweb of threat assessment, behavior sensor warnings, flagged words, suspicious activity reports using automated eyes and ears of social media, behavior sensing software, and citizen spies. The government's war on crime has now veered into the realm of social media and technical entrapment, with government agents adopting fake social media identities and AI-created profile pictures in order to surveil, target, and capture potential suspects. We have heard a lot about that. You have probably experienced a lot of that within the past, 2 years with the fact-checked thing. Everything is fact-checked. You got the government now posing as, people they are not, to gain, to get into groups. One thing that comes to mind is that whole Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping case. Now, that whole plot was basically thought up and pushed by an FBI agent, okay? Now, if that's not entrapment, I don't know what is. If an FBI agent comes up with something like that and just keeps on hounding people to go along with the narrative, and then they try to charge these people with a crime, that they did not come up with themselves. It was government came in, said, this is what we want to do. You gotta get this group. You gotta make them think this is a good thing to do. I mean, that's one big thing. That was a big court thing. I mean, they were basically got off because an FBI agent, basically planned this whole thing, okay? If you don't think they're out there doing it to other people, you're wrong. Weaponizing digital currencies, social media, scores, and censorship. Tech giants working with the government have been meeting their own version of social justice by way of digital tyranny, and corporate censorship, muzzling whoever they want, whenever they want, on whatever pretext they want, in an absence of any real due process, review, or appeal. YouTube's good for that. They take a video, say this goes against the community standards, you can appeal it, and it don't matter. If they don't like it, you're going to lose your appeal. No matter if it goes against community standards, they stretch community standards and make them so vague that it can be applied basically in any way they want it applied to. You know, how they want it with this particular situation. We're going to stretch this. Oh, this goes against this. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, same way. They remove posts. They remove people's pages. They remove groups because it's something they don't agree with. Yes, they are a company, but they are also, you know, the people give them the company that they are. Without the people, they are nobody. They just push their weight around because they are big tech and they got so much money that they can just, you know, you're gone. We don't like what you're saying. We don't like what you're writing, what you're posting. We're just gonna delete you, do away with you, ban you. I've seen that happen to a lot of people, and it still continues to happen to this day. We heard about the new digital, social media scores, okay? They want to use that to determine who's worthy enough to be part of society and push individuals for moral lapses and social transgressions and reward them for adhering to government-sanctioned behavior. In China, millions of individuals and businesses, they are blacklisted as unworthy based on a social media credit score that grade them based on whether they are good citizens, have been banned from accessing financial markets and buying real estate or traveling by air or train. So if you don't meet this social media credit score, you don't fly, can't buy a house, you can't do anything financial market wise. I don't know if that's including banks, really. I would think that would be in the same thing. But they are basing your worthiness on a score, a fake score, that is come up with by big tech. Digital currency. You've heard a lot about that. They want to go to a digital currency system. It's a way for the government to surveil and control your financial transactions. They go to digital currency, there's no more cash. They know what you spend your money on, where you spend it. They can shut off and control, you know, you posted this, we don't like it, so you don't get access to your money, or they fine you, let's say, and take some of your money, and you have no control over it. So all face-to-face transactions, cash-wise, would be gone. Couldn't buy anything with cash. There would be no cash. We would all, you know, it's pretty much what we're at today. You've seen they're pushing it during the pandemic pretty good, because you heard about this coin shortage, okay? There was a lot of stores that would not take cash. And these are big stores that would not take cash. They would only take plastic credit cards. I mean, it was a big deal if you had to pay in cash. It was, oh my God, you gotta pay in cash. We gotta go hunt down this coins that are in short supply. No, they were pushing the narrative for everybody to go to basically digital currency. Didn't work very well. I know a lot of people would only pay in cash. They wouldn't go to stores if they couldn't use cash. The stores finally learned this. You don't hear about the coin shortage anymore. It's something you don't hear about. That idea during the pandemic they had didn't work. They will come up with another idea. They will not drop that because that's what they want. Weaponizing compliance. Well-intentioned governmental law or program can be and has been perverted, corrupted, and used to advance illegitimate purposes once profit and power are added to the equation. The war on terror, the war on drugs, the war on C-19, the war on illegal immigration, asset forfeiture schemes, road safety schemes, school safety schemes, eminent domain. All these programs started out as legitimate responses to pressing concerns and since have become weapons of compliance and control in the police state's hands. You buy a house, you got to pay taxes on it every year. You want to drive a car, you got to pay us for license, you got to pay us for plates, you got to pay for inspection or emissions. Everything, every right you have is not really a right because you are some way or another paying the government for you to be able to do this, do that. You are paying the government for you to be able to drive to work. To do what? For the government to take your money, some of your paycheck out as taxes. So basically, you're paying the government for you to be able to work. No matter what, is going on in society, if you break it down, it's all based on you. If you look at it, it's you are paying for permission to do this act, or what do you have to pay to get fishing license. You have to pay to get hunting license. That's to put food on your table, okay? You're paying the government to have the right to put food on your table. Everything comes down to paying for that service. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. My next video, we're going to focus on the last 20 years. This since about 2001 is when this whole PSYOPs, them pushing this agenda, really came in. Really started to get on track. Next video, I'm going to focus on basically a 20-year breakdown and point out some of the key things. And once you see that, it's like your mind starts to be like, oh my God, that's what they were doing. They've done it over such a long period of years that we as people just give them a little bit here, an inch here, another inch here, another inch here, another inch here. After 5 years, they got 10 feet. But us as people, we give them that, oh, it's just only an inch. They can take it, Then the next year, well, another inch. They can take it. They do it in such a slow pace the society just becomes immune to it or doesn't recognize that it's happening until we get to a point, as we are now, that everything is coming together. And it seems, they are pushing their agenda like really hard. I mean, they were doing good with their agenda till Trump got in office. Trump stopped their plan for 4 years. Why do you think they don't like him so much? Was it because of his mean tweets? No. He didn't play by their rules. He, did what he thought was best for the country. Is Trump the, great savior if he gets elected again to save this country? No. I personally don't think we can elect anybody to save this country. I think we are so far down this rabbit hole, and there's so much divide between, you got abortion, you got, white supremacists, you got the LGBTQ plus whatever, you get that. They have so many ways they are dividing people. You got the vaxxed and the non-vaxxed. It's just, there's so much division that I don't think one person will be able to do enough to bring this country back. I think we are already on a course for something bad to happen. I don't think it would take years and years of repair to get us back to how we, how we were. We basically were pretty much united, Weaponizing entertainment. You look at some of the movies. Psychological warfare is in movies. You may not realize it's in movies, but it's in movies. Okay? The Department of Defense has an entertainment media office. And it provides Hollywood with equipment, personnel, and technical expertise at taxpayer expenses. You are paying for the government to tell Hollywood, this is the narrative we want you to push. This is how we want you to push it. In exchange, the military-industrial complex has gotten a starring role in such blockbusters as Top Gun and its rebooted sequel, Top Gun Maverick, which translates into free advertising for the Warhawks, recruitment of foot soldiers for military empire, patriotic fever by taxpayers who have to foot the bill for the nation's endless wars. Do you think the release or the making of that movie, Top Gun Maverick, it just happened? No, it's a real manly, patriotic movie, okay? It was released on purpose. It was written the way it was written on purpose. It's to push an agenda. Elmer Davis, he was a CBS broadcaster, okay? He came up, this is his quote: "The easiest way to inject the propaganda idea into most people's minds is to let it go through the medium of entertainment picture when they do not realize they are being propagandized." Perfect. you don't realize you're being shaped for a certain narrative by watching a movie. It's just, you think movie is entertainment, you don't think it has the ability to change, the road that you're on. Weaponizing behavioral science and nudging. President Obama, he issued an executive order directing federal agencies to use behavioral science methods to minimize bureaucracy and influence the way people respond to government programs. Okay? In short, a behavior program that tries to influence how many people respond to paperwork to a government program that tries to shape the public's view about other, more consequential matters, thus increasing governments around the world, including the United States, who are relying on the nudge units to steer citizens in the directions of the powers they want them to go while preserving the appearance of free will. They are pushing you in a direction, but they are still making you think you're free. You have freedoms. We are seeing a lot of freedoms come under attack. Weaponizing desensitization campaigns aimed at lulling us into a false sense of security. In events of recent years, the invasive surveillance, the extremist reports, the civil unrest, the protests, the shootings, the bombings, the military exercises, the active shooter drills, the lockdowns, the color-coded alerts, threat assessments, the fusion centers, the transformation of local police into an extension of the military, the distribution of military equipment and weapons to local police forces, the government database containing the names of dissidents and potential troublemakers have conspired to acclimate the populace to accept the police state willingly, even gratefully. In the past years, two decades, we've seen police get armored vehicles. Okay? Now, these are military armored vehicles. What does a police agency need a military armored vehicle for except for intimidation? You've seen it brought out a lot during the riots. It's an intimidation factor. It is used to say, hey, we got this vehicle that is indestructible. You can't stop us. Hardware. Many police units now has hardware, military grade hardware. What does a police unit need that much, that state of the art hardware for if they're there to protect your life? They have militarized the police so much now that they are basically a standing army in the United States that we deal with every day, not realizing they are the force that they are. Weaponizing fear and paranoia. The language of fear spoken effectively by politicians on both sides of the aisle, shouting by media pundits from their cable TV pulpits, marketing by corporations, and codified into the bureaucratic laws that do little to make her life safer or more secure. Fear, as history has shown, is the method most often used by politicians to increase the power of government and control populace, dividing people into factions and persuading them to see each other as enemies. It goes with what I was saying earlier, how much we are divided. We are divided by design. That's how they want it. It's easier to control people when they are divided than if they are a group. Few Americans even realize they are being manipulated into adopting an us against them mindset. Instead, fueled with fear and loathing for phantom opponents, they agree to pour millions of dollars and resources into political elections, militarized police, spy technology, and endless wars, hoping for the guarantee of safety that never comes. All the while, those in power, brought and paid for by lobbyists and corporations, move their costly agendas forward, and we, the suckers, get saddled with the tax bills and subject to pat-downs, police raids, round-the-clock surveillance. Big thing comes into mind, the Patriot Act. Why'd they name it the Patriot Act? It was named that for the simple fact that it made it seem that that act was American, was patriotic American. What did it do? Created more government. You got TSA now that can pat down little old ladies. You go through body scanners. You got to take your shoes off. Stuff that was never, never done before this whole act was passed. To believe that on September 11th, these guys were able to take over planes with box cutters, okay? Box cutters. Now, either there was no men on these planes, okay? No real men on these planes. Or was it designed? Was it meant to happen for them to push more of an agenda to start a war against terror, as they phrased it, that put us in war in Afghanistan and surrounding countries? A costly war, and we pull out and we leave millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of equipment behind. I don't see how, I don't see where that is a smart idea, but it was all by design. Everything to do is by design. Weaponizing genetics. Not only does fear grease the wheels of transition to fascism by cultivating fear, controlled, pacified, cowed citizens, but it also embeds itself in our very DNA, so we pass our fear and compliance onto our offspring. It's called epigenetic inheritance. It's the transmission of DNA through traumatic experiences. Studies on humans suggest that children and grandchildren that may have felt the epigenetic impact of such traumatic events, such as famine, the Holocaust, and September 11th terrorist attacks. They have done a study that your traumatic experiences are passed through your DNA to your child. Does that explain why the way the children are the way they are today? They lack a backbone. They will not stand up for anything. They just want taken care of. I mean, a lot of that's grooming, but was do they have all this, terror and violence and school shootings and supermarket shootings? And is it because they know them experiences are passed on to your child? And if they keep on making them experiences, basically generation after generation after generation, you will get to a generation that is so afraid of everything that they will not stand up for themselves and follow orders. Is that what they're heading towards? Weaponizing the future. The government has been issuing warnings about the dire need to prepare for the dystopian future that awaits us. Pentagon trading video megacities, urban future, and emerging complexities. Predicts by 2030, that's the same year as the WEF's grand plan. That's the same year they want to have the metaverse. We merge with machine. It's 2030. 2030 is a big number. Big year. Everything they do is working up to 2030. The military would be called on to use armed force to solve future domestic, political, and social problems. What they're really talking about is martial law, packaged in a well-meaning and overriding concern for national security. The trailing 5-minute training video paints an ominous picture of the future bedeviled by criminal networks, substandard infrastructure, religious and ethnic tensions, impoverishment, slums, open landfills, overburdened sewers, a growing mass of unemployment, in an urban landscape in which the prosperous economic elite must protect their impoverishment from the have-nots. We the people are the have-nots. The end goals of this mind control campaign, packaged in the guise of greater good, is to see how far American people will allow the government to go in reshaping the country in the image of a totalitarian police state. We see that happening a lot right now. The last 2 years, we've seen them push, and they keep on pushing to see how far they can push people before people start to stand up. Everything you see them working on now, they're pushing heavily for weapon, legislation. It's because they are afraid. They are seeing that people are tired the way the country's going, and Washington is afraid that if we the people stand up, there's no way they can, win. They are in trouble. That's why they are pushing this gun stuff so much and all these other red flag laws. It's because they're running out of time. They see the polls that, Americans are pretty much fed up with gas prices, inflation, and it makes them afraid. That's why they are pushing this legislation so much and so fast. Because if they don't, and you get something like a convention of states or enough people to stand up and say enough is enough, the government's plan that they have, they want to have in place basically goes out the window. And the only way to get a society to basically bow to you is to take away their ability to protect themselves. And that's what they're trying to do right now. The facts speak for themselves. Whatever else it may be, a danger, a menace, a threat, the U.S. government is certainly not looking out for our best interests, nor is it in any way friend to freedom. When the government views itself as superior to citizenry, when it no longer operates for the benefit of the people, when the people are no longer able to peacefully reform their government, when government officials cease to act like public servants, when elected officials no longer represent the will of the people, when the government routinely violates the rights of the people and perpetrates more violence against the citizens than the criminal class, when the government spending is unaccountable and unaccounted for, when the judiciary acts as the courts of order rather than justice, and when the government is no longer bound by the laws of the Constitution, you no longer have a government of the people, by the people, for the people. What we have is a government of wolves. We see that going on right now. They're trying to dilute the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. That is the one document that they wish they could just erase. It stands in their way, and they are slowly chipping away at our rights and freedoms, one bill at a time, until we're not going to have any left. We the people who think, who reason, who take a stand, who demand to be treated with dignity and care, who believe in freedom and justice for all, we have become the unvalued citizens of a totalitarian state that views people as expendable once they have outgrown their usefulness to the state. In the book Battlefield America, The War on American People, this is a quote, "We the people have become enemies of the deep state. We, common everyday citizens, are now viewed as domestic terrorists." You hear that word a lot, domestic terrorist. You see them cracking down on American, let's American in quotation marks, groups, but yet you have abortion protests outside Supreme Court justices' houses, which is against the law, and nothing is done about it. You even had Psaki, encourage more protesting. They should do more. Now, if that was I don't want to say a patriot group because this kind of labels it wrong, but if that was an opposite group doing that, how fast do you think they would be arrested? January 6th comes into mind. When Donald Trump got elected, how many representatives basically, I can't think of the word I'm thinking of right now. They went against the election. You had protests outside, but that wasn't seen as, a threat. Yes, they didn't go inside the Capitol, but you pretty much had the same thing that was happening on the 6th. But the 6th, they knew they had to take it a little farther to push the narrative. What did Donald... Okay, they wouldn't blame this on Donald Trump. What did Trump have to gain by them breaking into the Capitol. He already had people that was going to object to the vote. Okay, they already started it. I think they got through one state before, they were evacuated. What did he have to gain with them taking over, doing what they did? By them doing what they did, nobody objected to the election. So who was the winner? Who benefited more from what happened that day compared to what they tell you, the person they tell you who is behind it all? This is just, you make up your own mind. This was just a quick article. PsyOps is happening every day, all the time. Anything you watch, anything you read, it's all groomed to push an agenda. And unfortunately, a lot of people are falling for the agenda that they're pushing. Like I said, I laid out the facts. You make up your own mind. Are they messing with our minds? Are they purposely putting stuff out there or letting stuff happen so that messes with our emotions, so our emotional response overrides our rational response? Is that why they're pushing what they're pushing right now? You make up your mind. I just lay out the facts. Alright, see you next video.